Solving quadratic equations, part 3. By factoring, write the polynomial equation in factored form and solve using the zero product property. The zero product property in words: if the product of two expressions is zero, then one or both of the equations equal zero. All right, let's go ahead and do this problem. The first step is to get everything to one side. So I'm going to write x squared minus 4x minus 45 is equal to 0. And then I'm going to factor it. I'm going to split up the x, and then I'm going to split up the 45. Now remember, 45 can be written as 9 times 5, or it can be written as 15 times 3, or 45 times 1. And our best bet is to use the numbers 9 and 5. So this will be 9 and 5. Now you can see 9 and 5, the difference between them is the number 4. Now we want negative 4, so we're going to want more negatives and less positives. Now I'm going to check my work using FOIL. So I'm going to multiply the two outers, that's first, and I'm going to get x squared. And my outer right here is going to be plus 5x. My inner will be negative 9x. And my last term will be negative 45. Now this checks to see if I factored correctly, and it looks like I did factor correctly. So now that I know for sure this is a good factored form, I'm going to use the zero product property and set each factor equal to 0. So now the answer is equal to 9, and x is equal to negative 5. So this is a parabola where I got two answers, one negative 5 and one 9. Let's take a look at finding the zeros of this function. Now this is f of x. Remember that f of x is another way of saying y. So this is like saying y. And we are looking for the zeros, so we're looking for when this or y is equal to 0. So you can avoid the y if you want and just write the 0 like this. So we're going to do factored form. I'm going to split up the 2x squared with 2x and x. And then I have some choices for 12. So 12 can be factored as 2 times 6, 3 times 4, and 12 times 1. Now I want to somehow get an 11 out of here, and to get an 11 I know that I am going to have to have both of these terms the same, because I'm getting the last term to be positive, and the outer and inner are going to be negative, so they're both going to be negative. So I know they're both going to be negative right here, and I need to figure out how to create 11 out of here. So if I use this and do a little, I put 4 here, I'm going to create an 8x, and I put here, and I'm going to create a 3x. So let me check my work here. FOIL, and my first term, that's these two, is going to be 2x squared, and my outer will be negative 8x, my inner will be negative 3x, and my last will be positive 12. And you can see that that's going to match this equation that I'm trying to get. So I know I have factored it correctly, so I'm going to write 2x minus 3 equal to 0. This is the zero product property. And I'm going to get 2x is equal to 3, so x is equal to 3 halves, and x is equal to 4. So this is a parabola that looks something like this, where one of the zeros is 3 halves and the other one is 4. Okay, your turn. Solve the equation by factoring. Stop the screencast and see what you can do. And here's the answer. One of the things that you're going to have to check your work on is this outer, first, outer, inner, and last. You've got to make sure that when you multiply it out, you get back to your original equation. Your outer your first, outer, inner, and last. You got to make sure that when that multiplies out, you get to your equation. Otherwise, you haven't factored correctly. Okay, here's another opportunity. Please stop the screencast and see what you can do. And here's the answer. Now, in this particular one, we only get one answer. They were two factors, but they were exactly the same factor. So what's probably happening here is that the parabola was probably just hitting the curve like this. So our 0, we're only going to get 1 0 right here. So that's probably what the graph was looking like. Okay, let's go ahead and apply this in a geometry format. We have an area and we'd like to figure out what x is. Remember, area is equal to pi r squared. We know the area is 25 pi, and we have pi, and our radius is x plus 3. So I am going to divide both sides by pi, and I get 25 is equal to x plus 3 squared, and I'm going to use the idea of taking the square root of both sides. So I'm going to take the square root of both sides. Don't forget to put plus or minus, and then this is going to be plus or minus 5 is equal to x plus 3. And now I'm going to subtract 3 on both sides, and I'm going to get negative 3 plus or minus 5 is equal to x. So x can be negative 8 or x can be 2. Now in our particular problem, if I put negative 8 here, I'm going to not have a radius that's positive. So we're going to cross this out for our problem, and we're going to say x is equal to 2. Okay, here's another area problem. Please stop the screencast and see what you can do. And here's the answer. The product of the length and the width is equal to 36. You go ahead and solve it by factoring, and make sure you check the answers to see if it makes sense for the problem. And this is the end of the screencast.